Well, I was asked to find out about our loan players. That's what somebody asked for content-wise. I thought rather than do all of them in one go, I'd pick out some of the more notable ones and do videos on them and kind of talk a little bit about, you know, where they're at, what they're doing, how they're doing, and could they come back to Rangers and what impact would they have at the club if they came back. And I think with some of these loan players, are we a little bit guilty of rewriting history on them? That's always a risk, isn't it? You know, the fact that a player leaves and suddenly that player becomes 10 times better than they actually were. I'm not saying that about Ianis Hagi. I'm just saying in general, you know, it's always a thing that happens, isn't it? When a player leaves a club, suddenly that player, if that club underperforms for any length of time or lacks in that position, becomes a world beater rather than what they actually were. So Ianis Hagi obviously was a fundamental part of our title success, our 55 title success, wasn't he? He was a phenomenal player. He gets that horrible injury. He's set back. He really had an awful time with injury. And last season he came back and he was starting, I think, to get back to where he had been previously. But it kind of came at the wrong time, didn't it? The end of the season for him, it really did. Sort of hurt him that the season broke when it did, after he was just getting back into the team, was just getting back into the swing of things. He got that goal against Hibs that led to those emotional scenes. You know, Ianis is a very, very talented player. Let's get that right. You know, yes, one of the things he does get criticised for is his speed. He can get past the man, but then once he gets past him, he hasn't got the ability to go away from him like some players do. But a lot of people would say that Ianis kind of creates, not through speed, but creates that extra yard in his in terms of his ability, in terms of his passing ability, his vision, the way he reads the game, the way he influences the play. You know, particularly at the European level, a lot of people, you know, rate Ianis Hagi playing European football at a very high level. Now, that injury that he got cost him 18 months of his career, and I think there's always a risk, isn't there, when you go have that sort of injury, that knee injury, that some of you lose a step of pace, which Ianis never had to lose in the first place. But Ianis Hagi apparently has scooped a Player of the Month award in Spain and is doing very well with Alaves at this moment in time, as well as obviously with the Romanian national team. And it just seems odd, doesn't it, seeing Ianis in blue and white stripes rather than in the royal blue of Rangers. It just doesn't seem quite right, does it? You know, that there's our lad. I mean, obviously we are very, it's great that he's getting time, he's getting game time, that he's playing, that he's obviously doing very well. And that that he is getting back from that knee injury and really getting first team minutes, is what he wasn't getting under Michael Beale at Rangers. And is part of that departure down to the fact that, that Michael Beale didn't want him? Would there be a different outcome if Philippe Clement had been the manager? Is Hagi a Clement type player? I would argue that he would fit very well into Clement's system. He's a player who is flexible. He's a player who can play in a number of positions. He can play deep. He can play further up the field. He can play to some degree out wide if you're not looking for speed at going past people. He can play in a number of different positions. And with Clement talking about wanting a flexibility of shape and a flexibility of formation and players interchanging positions, Ianis would definitely fit in with that. But it's great to hear, though, that he is currently thriving on loan in Spain in La Liga in Alaves. Now, some people have said that obviously that could be the case because Spain, La Liga, is a lot slower than Scottish football. There isn't the speed, the intensity, and the aggressiveness in Spanish football that many people think obviously that suits Hagi's style a whole lot better. And if he was to come back to Scotland, would he have the same impact? He was a key man as well, but it's not just that. He's been influential for his national team as well. He was a key figure against Israel and Switzerland for Romania, as Romania looked to obviously get to Euro 2024. And he's become a real leading figure with Alaves as well. He featured in a narrow 2-1 defeat to Barcelona last weekend, which is a good result considering how well Barcelona were doing this season. Now, he is on a season-long loan, but as far as I am aware, there is a recall in his contract, as there is with most players, a January recall. Hagi was interviewed by the media in Spain, and this is what he had to say. He said, I'm happy. I'm happy. Clearly, when you win trophy, it means you made the fans happy because they vote. I always said that I play for the fans, that I try to make them happy. Any trophy motivates me. Of course, the most important trophies are the collective ones, which motivate me daily. But I know that my individual performances will always help the team. For this trophy, talking about his Player of the Month award, obviously. What matters most is what you do with the national team. So obviously for Ianis, national team football and it is very, 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 very important. But it was obviously, like I said, it was Michael Beale that sanctioned that departure of Ianis Hagi from Rangers to Alaves. Let's have a look at some of his stats from his time in Spain. This is the Copa del Rey, where he's made one appearance. He came off the bench. He scored twice. He's played 32% of the minutes of that game and had a 20% goal participation in the games so far played by Alaves. In La Liga, he's made 9 appearances, got 2 yellow cards and 1 assist. Played in nearly 50% of the starting 11s, 40% of the minutes, and has had a 14% goal participation. His pass success rate is high. His pass accuracy rate is high. And, you know, it is a useful experience for Hagi. He is bringing, you know, some skill and some ability to that Alaves team and helping that Alaves team this year. But the question remains is, would he be valuable to Rangers? Would he be useful to coming back and playing, you know, for Rangers in our league? Now, the obvious thing is, you know, this is a guy that, you know, has made a number of appearances for the club, you know, in terms of his totals, 99 appearances, 16 goals, only 1 appearance away from 100 for the club. You know, like I said, he was a fundamental part of that 55 season. I suppose the issue that Ianis has, that if he does come back to Ibrox, that the same players that were here ahead of him when he left on loan into Alaves are still here. You know, you've got Todd Cantwell, obviously, who's having a mixed season, and perhaps that's a reason for this debate and this discussion. Would Ianis Hagi be a good addition back into the team? Tom Lawrence, obviously, another one who can play in that attacking midfield role. You add into that as well Sam Lammers. I know Sam Lammers is not great, but he still is in that 10 role. You know, there are players that are very much taking up that 10 role. There is a lot of players who would be ahead of him. However, I would argue that, you know, Ianis Hagi is more influential with a forward-facing role rather than with his back to goal. He can have that vision of pass to spray the ball to the width now, which we seem to have with Abdallah and to some degree, obviously, with Scott Wright when he plays. Also, you know, the fact that he can put those little balls through the middle, he can influence the middle of the game. Now, I suppose the one thing that goes against him from playing in a deeper role would be that he hasn't got the speed and dynamism to go box to box as much as, say, Nicholas Raskin would. But I think there's very much a role for him there. I think the way that Philippe Clement works his teams, I think there is a role for him there. You know, Sam Lammers hasn't got burning speed by any stretch of the imagination. John Lundstrom hasn't got burning speed by any stretch of the imagination. I think there is a role for Ianis there, you know, either sitting in alongside Raskin. He could play in that role if Raskin was to sit back more as a 6th and an 8, or alongside Lundstrom if Raskin is not doing the job for us, which so far this season he genuinely hasn't. You know, I think there is a grounds for recalling Hagi in January. I think that, you know, with the fact that hopefully we should be still in Europe after Christmas, you're going to want a player with that European talent, that European pedigree, that European ability that Ianis possesses. You know, he's proved it in the past in the Europa League before he got injured. You know, and like I said, I know there are certain fans that say that we are kind of rewriting history on Ianis Hagi, but I'm kind of looking back to that season, the 55 season, when he was fit and when he was firing fully. And it seems that he's getting back to that now. I think it's unfair to kind of judge him on his pre and post injury time. You know, pre-injury, I suppose he was still playing very well. Post injury, yes, he wasn't as good, but look, he is coming back from a really serious injury. You know, they say that it could take up to 12 to 18 months for you to really develop and really come back from an injury. You know, you've only got to look at the fact that people have ACL injuries. It does take that time for them to get their confidence back, to be able to trust their knee for twisting, turning, moving, sprinting, and all the things they used to be able to do before that injury. You know, personally speaking, I think Ianis Hagi would be a great addition back into the squad. You know, he's got experience, which is always vital there. He's got the skill, the technique, the talent. And I just think that he is a Clement-style player. He's someone that Clement could very much get the best out of. So personally, I would love to see Hagi record in January. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about Ianis and a possible recall in January. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, it's been a pleasure speaking to you here on the channel. 3 things, guys. Subscribe, smash the like, and remember always, we are the people.